Hey everybody, Alex Miller at Capnion here. I'm having a lovely week to the extent that the newspaper is cooperating with my narratives. I'd like to talk about a new AI tool that got unveiled at Morgan Stanley. It's been widely circulated and talked about, including on, if you're watching on LinkedIn News today. I made a video yesterday where I talked quite a bit about how to evaluate different large language models, and one point I tried to put in your face over and over again is that do we really want to use these things directly as experts? That's how a lot of the metrics out there work to a significant degree. Instead, we might really think about large language models as just being good at reading and writing, and they can go get information for us and simulate it and then present it to us how another person would in something like an email or just generally a blob of text. What I read about this Morgan Stanley tool, I really liked. And it fit with this thing I've been saying. So, what I read about the architecture, this is a tool essentially meant to provide expert knowledge and information to financial advisors. The thing I read about it that I really liked, and I think jives with my sense of really what the best practice is you don't directly want the LLM to be the expert. The LLM is something that is part of really a system of other widgets, and I've got some great guesses I'm pretty sure are correct about. There's other AI machinery besides LLM in this tool, but I'm digressing here. You want the LLM to really be about helping out a search tool. You're talking to it, and it's great at assimilating language, and it's going to turn that into an algorithm for going and reading a bunch of documents, basically. And then it's going to get back to you and synthesize what it read in those documents. And this is great because this is what you would do with an intern. This is how human organizations really work a lot of the time. And I just want to repeat again here an architectural thing. I don't think it's a great look to be trying to use an LLM to replace expert knowledge. They seem like they're good at this, but they can be pretty rough around the edges. And a lot of times the point of expert knowledge is that's not supposed to be rough around the edges. I think it might be true soon, eventually, that in limited domain areas you can maybe directly use a large language model as an expert, but I bet it's going to be touch and go or problematic for a long time or forever. Going back to this idea, if you really want to have the LM working like a sort of intern librarian, going grabbing information for you and bringing it back and telling you what's in it, in a lot of things, provenance is really an important part of how we should think about knowledge. And this is especially true in a business context where legal liability could be involved. You know, in a low risk, we're just arguing in a bar kind of scenario, it's fun to feel like you know things. If there's more at stake, you really want to be confident that you know things. And to have this kind of confidence, you want to know why you feel like you know them. And in this model where you're really using the thing as an intermediary to go find a source, you're going to have provenance in that you can bake into a tool like this. Well, hey, which document did you get this from? What sources did you use to synthesize this thing that you're telling me? I've talked a lot in other videos. You're trying to directly use a large language model to tell you things. You don't have anything like this. It's very opaque under the hood. And this is a big problem if you, once again, want to know why you know things so that you can be sure you got it right. Heaven forbid if you get sued, it's much better to be able to say, Well, I was acting on this source that everybody agrees it was reasonable for me to think was authoritative, versus just a robot told me this and I entrusted it, even though I could have read a bunch of news articles about how that robot likes to make things up. So, from what I read, this Morgan Stanley widget, they look like they're doing things right, and I personally would emulate, if it seems relevant, some of these architectural things I've spotlighted here about. Once again, it's not about directly producing knowledge, it's about handling knowledge from other sources, I think, in a lot of the more sensible constructions. Wherever you might be watching this, if you've made it this far, punch some buttons to indicate that you liked it, just to make me feel good. Why not? Come on.